Welcome back, one and all, to The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 6. We're talking about the most heartbreaking episode and potentially the best episode of the entire series. Hello, my name is Zach, and I'm going to be joined by two fabulous guests. One that you already saw because my dumb ass forgot to click them on out. But we are talking The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 6. As I mentioned, the best episode of this show so far. Not just from Season 2, but from Season 1 as well. This is an emotional roller coaster. Game fans, we have won. If you didn't like this episode, I'm ready to fight you in the comment section. Leave your thoughts down there if you're watching us on the replay. If you're watching right now live, even better. Join us along for the road. Let's get into this. And one of our hosts today is Seth from According to Seth. He's a critic, a journalist, and an awesome guy. How you doing today, Seth?
Doing wonderful. How are you guys doing?
Oh, I think everyone's doing great. Did everyone cry? Did you cry, Seth? Did you cry?
Did. And
Okay.
Wednesday, well, she disappeared. She heard food, so she ran away.
Fair
She consoled
enough.
me.
Hey, that's okay. But we also have Cody here today. Cody is a writer, actor, director, fan of The Last of Us as well. Did you cry as well?
I did, big time. Like 3 times during this one episode.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this in the past where like I watch it with my wife and I like hop up and get excited for moments. And when they were doing the porch scene, I'd literally gotten up and I was like, oh my fucking God, I'm gonna cry. If Joel says the line, I'm gonna cry. He said that line, I started crying, and then he kept going and said other lines, and I said, Pedro Pascal, the fuck you doing to me, man? The fuck you doing to me? But you guys know, if you guys have watched the previous episodes, basically how we're going to talk about this is we're going to go give you guys our first impressions of the episode and our initial score. Then we're going to go into this beat by beat. I love this episode because this is pretty easy. You go flashback by flashback. I love that they broke that up, so we'll talk about that in a second. Then we'll get into our predictions going into the finale, as well as some things from the video game that we either really loved from this, but we can mention that because it's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
But things that may happen in the future we'll leave in those predictions. So right now you are safe. We will not be spoiling anything future in the game series. And last but not least, we'll end on your guys' questions. But one thing I do want to say is, guys, I think that's it for Pedro.
Yep.
I think that is it.
Yep.
That was it. That's the last scene.
Yep.
And yeah, shit. All right. So my first impressions. Actually, you know what, Seth? Let's have you start this week. What was your first impressions and what's your score?
Oh, that I'm first here. I loved it. I think it's my favorite episode of the season. It tied so many different things together for me. I give it a 10 out of 10. I honestly, it's one of my
10
favorite.
Seths out of 10?
10 Seths out of 10. I think.
Wow.
It just tied so many great things together for me, and it made that porch scene so much more impactful than the game.
Love it. Cody, what about you, man? What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely, if I could give it a 12 out of 10, I definitely would.
Mhm.
It's great. I loved essentially every aspect of the episode. And, it's great to see Pedro back. And not only that, it's great to see Pedro is back, and he has not lost a step. I would honestly say this episode probably has my favorite performance from Pedro Pascal as Joel in the entire show. Like, it's great.
Yeah, man, it harkens back to one of my favorite lines from the first season that was not in the video game, where they sit before they go into the hospital, and he says, it wasn't time. And I'm like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, Pedro. And the way that Pedro does those deliveries, personally for me, Pedro Pascal is my favorite actor working today. I know a lot of people sometimes are a little bit over him because he's just in everything, but anytime he gets into a project, I'm excited. I don't care what the project is. I will watch it. I've been a fan of him since Oberyn from Game of Thrones. So,
and I cry everything he's in.
Exactly. My opinions on this episode. Perfect. This is my favorite episode. I think it's the best episode of the entire series, as I said off the top. 10 out of 10. I think it's very clever how Neil Druckmann did this. My initial prediction going into the season was that they were going to break up the flashbacks and those were going to be our cold opens. That has not been it. And we get an entire flashback episode that usually could be like the worst thing and the worst timing, but this felt like the perfect timing. As Ellie descends from hell, basically, back to the theater, and she was walking through the rain, the way that I picture is that her life is flashing before her eyes the last 5 years. And that's just perfect to me in the way that it's symbolic of her in a way, like they say your life flashes before your eyes, right? Before you die. In a way, all that anger and frustration that she's pent up and kind of hidden is finally out.
Mhm.
The whole time she was filling that lie, and I found this to be a 10 out of 10 in terms of performances, in terms of acting, in terms of even changes. I thought that was phenomenal. So let's get into this, guys. And the number one thing I want to start off with, of course, is the cold open. The cold open for this episode is it may be my second or first favorite of the entire show. I always go back to the first season where it's the guys talking on the talk show about the cordyceps.
Cordyceps. Cordyceps.
That was an eerie thing to start this entire season show, because that was the first episode, right? First or second.
Yeah.
It was so good. And I've been waiting for one of those cold opens to grip me again and mean something. You know, the Isaac stuff's been great. I really like the one, you know, with the spores last time, but this was the one. This is the one. Tony Dalton, my guy. If you guys watch Better Call Saul, woo, I got hyped on that dude coming in. Also, shout out to him. He's going to be in Neil Druckmann's next video game alongside Tatia Gabriel, Intergalactic. So that's exciting. Love seeing that in there. But him playing Joel and Tommy's dad. And I love that we take it back. And there was something I was telling Cody prior to this, and I love what this scene does. It gives more meaning to the watch because we see that fucking watch again on the dad. It gives meaning to Tommy and Joel's relationship, and it gives a little bit of an interesting aspect to Joel. As Joel kind of has, you know, he tells him, I hope you do a little bit better than I did. And that's, being a dad now, that's kind of how I feel too. Yep. Something my dad told me. When you have a little one, I hope you can do a little bit better than me. And that's something that I feel like dads just pass down. And this dad would beat, would hit him, would do whatever, but he wouldn't go as far as his dad went. And for me, what really hits hard is that he never hit Ellie. He never hit Sarah. He's, you know, that was the thing that he wanted to deter from. But what did Joel do in this? There is still violence in him. He killed everyone. Mm-hmm. Killed so many people to save Ellie. And I love how that reiterates to the final flashback of it all. What did you guys think about the cold opening? I will start with Cody this time. Cody?
It was great. And it harkens to what I think this show did really well with this episode. And it does what all great adaptations should do, is that 50% of this episode was made up of stuff that fans of the games already knew. And then the other 50%, like the cold open, is stuff that either expanded upon the stuff that we already knew or gave us something new to digest or think about. And everything that they gave us is just so great. And this cold open for me, it's like I grew up in a household where I have parents who are older. Like my parents are in their 70s, and they grew up in a time period that is very much like the time period that Joel and Tommy grew up, where parents are like, you know, it's almost a stoic approach where there's no emotion whatsoever. If you do something slightly wrong, you're gonna get hit, you're gonna get punished for it. And then as far as the way I was raised, they definitely didn't raise me in that sort of sense. And so this cold opening, it's something that, honestly, I think it's something that's going to resonate with everybody. And for me, it's not just a great cold open in terms of this show. I think in terms of what it says and in terms of what it gives to the characters that are already here, I think it might be one of the best cold opens of any piece of fiction that's come out in the past decade, to be honest.
Seth, what about you, man? What do you think of this sequence?
So at first, I did not like it. But when it... let me finish here.
Fuck you. Goodbye.
Well, let's keep talking.
So at first, I didn't like it. I was like, what's the point of this? And then the end of the episode happens, and it kind of comes full circle, and everything that happens in between. And it kind of like paints this picture that although he didn't beat Ellie or, you know, beat his own daughter, that violence never escapes him. It always it passes on from generation to generation,
Yeah.
like it passes on to Ellie. At the end of the episode, you see her angry. You see what she did to what's her face last week, Nora last week. So it's like that. He says that, but that anger and that animosity continues on, and I thought that was really cool how they like included that.
Yeah, dude. And also the actors they got for the kids, very well done.
Yep.
That is young Joel and that is young Tommy. And also just like a little bit of a side note, even though we didn't get a lot of Joel or Tommy, that is Tommy. Like Tommy is not the more like he's aggressive to an extent, but not as aggressive as he needs to, which rolls it back to we don't get Grim Reaper Seattle Tommy. Maybe yet. Maybe one day. Maybe next episode. I don't fucking know. I'm not holding out hope on that anymore. With that regard, we jump into the first flashback, which I love how it starts off with Seth. He's coming here. Joel's trade some Legos, and we wonder what he's getting. And I thought it was going to be the guitar for a second, but it seems like it was a birthday cake for Ellie. And I love how this sequence plays out because, well, first off, he's making the guitar. Just fucking great. I want that guitar. Second, I love how she comes in and she has the burn. I like that they actually gave her the burn. In the game, it was just, the bite was a burn, and that's where they came from. And I like how they kind of go through this whole section, and then they get to the cake, and Joel plays Future Days, which I don't want to hear a single fucking soul say the timing is wrong. If I see that in the comment section, I might block you. Because who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? It's fictional. It's fictional to an extent. But I love this sequence, and I think Pedro did a really good job with it. Yeah, I thought this was great. Seth, what about you? What do you think of this sequence, man?
I loved it. Just this whole episode, guys. It's just 10 out of 10. No notes.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Fair enough. Cody, what about you, man?
Moment number one that made me cry in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought it was, for me, it's like, probably we're in agreement here. Like everything about this episode is just, it's television perfection. So I'm going to be talking a lot about adaptation as a whole, whether it's like a book or in this case a video game. The thing that I loved about this first sequence, first of all, I love the fact that we get to see Seth just regularly, and the fact is, and now some shows might go about and be like, well, Seth's had some growth as a character, so if we go back to him like before present day, we might make him like he is in present day. But no, Seth is always been kind of an asshole, and he's that way with Joel here. But the thing that I love between the guitar and the chemical burn is those are details that they are like briefly slid across in the game. But it's like Joel walks in with the guitar for Ellie. The fact that Joel made the guitar for Ellie makes it it just makes it hurt more.
Yeah.
It makes it hurt more, but also the chemical burn, the way that they go about explaining how it happened, I thought was a lot more interesting than how they did it in the game. Because it's a one-line, one-off thing in the game where it's...
Well, in the game, I don't even think she gets the chemical burn. They just say it's a chemical burn.
Just says it's a chemical burn. Exactly. Yeah. Whereas here, she actively does it. And why? Ellie's still a kid. She's 15. She wants to wear t-shirts again. Like, it's great. Like I said, adaptation at its finest.
Yeah, great sequence. Then we jump into the next one, which is a year later. And it starts, and us as game fans, we see him going through the forest, and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, here we go. One of my favorite moments from the game. And if I was to have a nitpick, I wish the sequence was longer. I wish we would have gotten them exploring the museum a little bit more. But it was awesome to see, like, literally the recreation of her hopping on the rocks, him going across the log. And again, this plays off to how Ellie is really much feeling by like feeling themselves, is by the end when she sees the fireflies and it reminds her, oh, this is still bothering me. Which again goes to how she's been in this whole episode, is she's been facing a lie about how she's feeling. And I really like how in all these flashbacks, you can kind of see that lie still chipping away at her every good moment. And this museum, as perfect as the day was, just like in the game, she gets that. But from the T-Rex and her climbing on top of it, I love the moment. I wish we just had more dinosaur stuff. I wish we would have had the hat. We saw the hat. We saw the hat. I just want to say, in her room. So explain that, Neil Druckmann. I want to know. But third, we get to the rocket scene. And it was nearly 1-for-1 as the game.
Yeah.
And the little tear you see go down Pedro's face, to Bella's expressions, to the cinematography. I mean, Neil Druckmann just, you can't make that scene any better. And I love what they were able to do there. Cody, I'll let you go.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the big things that makes this so special, and one of the big things that separates it from if another writer had tackled this, besides the fact that Neil Druckmann is the creator of The Last of Us, Neil Druckmann, with the original Last of Us, talked about how having a daughter really affected how he told stories, and specifically how he told the story of The Last of Us. And you can see that throughout the entirety of this episode in particular. Like, there was that father-daughter dynamic in the game between Joel and Ellie. It's intensified in here. And that comes down to the writing. It comes down to the performances between Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. For me, like, I love this episode as a whole. The part of this episode at the museum is my favorite part of the entire episode, because it was my favorite part of the Last of Us 2 game, because it's the calm before the storm. We all know that the world that we're living in The Last of Us is terrible, and this is one of those things where you can separate everything away, and it's just an isolated pocket where everything feels like it's going exactly the way it should. And then Ellie sees the fireflies, and
Yep.
everything starts rushing back. So it's perfect. I loved the fact that Joel gave her the rock, and he's like, if you're gonna go to space, you should have a helmet. So pick one. Like, that stuff, I just loved it.
She hit it. They hit it on the head. Seth, what about you, man? What do you think of this whole sequence?
I love the whole sequence, and I like that we get to see that like kid side in Ellie that we haven't seen in a long time, and just her being like herself, like you said, Cody. Like in this environment, you like the world's gone to shit, everything's so evil, and everyone's a monster, and then you kind of get this like happy side that you don't really get to see often. And I just think the playfulness and the banter between the two of them works so well. And I loved her on the T-Rex and that spaceship scene, like picking out the helmet, being in the rocket, and seeing like the flashing on the screen and like it basically making it feel like she's in space. I thought they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, 1000%. I love that. I love that so much, man. Which brings us to, after this, flips to the next flashback, which, quote me if I'm wrong, this is the one when Joel walks in on her getting the tattoo and fooling around, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
this is not from the game. This is something that they've discussed, but not from the game. And I think this was an actually needed and important sequence. I mean, this is something that I think a lot of dads could watch, and if they've been through the teen years, they've probably already felt this. And I really like how there's a lot of the dialogue in there. So first off, we get that girl who, interesting enough, is the girl that was on patrol with Dina and her in the first episode. Second, that's Ellie's first girlfriend, which they've only mentioned in the game. She gave her the tattoo, but Ellie moves out and Joel just lets it happen after an argument where he's trying to understand, and she goes, "This is not your house." Like, they just gave it to you. I thought this was a really good added scene. Maybe not one that was like truly needed if you want to add it to that, but I think it is one that, if you're going beat by beat, what were the moments leading up to their separation of partnership? I think this is a part of it as well. Seth, where can you add to that? What were your thoughts? Did you like this added scene that wasn't in the game? So on and so forth.
I like the added scene. It did kind of seem a little unnecessary. Like overall, it didn't. It kind of felt like they were trying to paint Joel as like Seth in a way at first, and then you kind of like see him like open up, and it's more. I honestly thought he was going to turn into his father for a second, and he was just going to be like angry and like break shit. It's like, what are you doing? You're smoking weed. You're being like a bad dad. But I don't know. I don't think it really it didn't really do that much for me, the scene in general. But everything after it did.
Love it. Cody, what about you?
As someone who has always been an advocate for therapy and talks about generational trauma and storytelling, I loved it. And it is a small scene. It may seem insignificant, but for me, it does something that we didn't necessarily get in the games. We never got, other than the one flashback at the museum, we never saw what the in-between times in Jackson actually looked like. Because everything, we always knew that Ellie and Joel were having troubles, but up until the point when Ellie has more significant trouble with Joel, we never got an in-between time. The time when Ellie got the tattoo, the time when she was dating Kat, we never really understood that. And for me, Joel grew up in rural Texas in the deep South.
Yep.
It's like him getting upset that Ellie was seeing a girl and being partially confused about that. Look, as somebody who grew up in a religious household, that didn't bother me all that much. Because I know friends in my own life whose parents have reacted that way.
I like that they didn't shy away from that either.
No.
I really like that they didn't shy away from that. That was something I noticed, and I was like, interesting that they didn't just let Joel be accepting of that. And I think that's something to remember, that during that time that wasn't to be as accepted, So great mention on that. I almost forgot about that part.
Yeah, the Texas, that plays a huge part into it.
But it's a significant moment for both of them, because for the entire time that Joel and Ellie have been together, there's never been that sort of moment where they would be separated by distance or a garage in this case. Or Ellie, these are the stages of Ellie actually significantly going through puberty and realizing that she's ready to be on her own. And although there are certain portions of this scene that, didn't necessarily be in the episode, for me, it added a lot, especially since after all the argument happened that night, Joel and Ellie opened up to each other a bit more as a father and daughter.
Yep. I agree with that.
No, that was a big thing, is the father-daughter dynamic that we've always needed to have in that moment. So great moment. She moves out. We get to the next flashback, which again, there's none in between, right? We're going to the Eugene one next, correct?
Yep, we knew this was coming.
Yeah, deep fucking breath on this one. So I knew this was probably going to be the one when something happens, And I love how it opens with Ellie reciting, and this time it's not on her birthday. It's 2 years later. Well, maybe it is still her birthday. They didn't say
I think it's every birthday, I think.
Okay, because it was 2 years later and then 9 months later. So whatever. She's turning 19, right?
It was because they take her out for patrol, and he was like, "It's your birthday. We can take you out for patrol."
Yeah. Good point. So this is what? She's 19 now?
Yeah.
19? Okay. So we're at 19 in this moment. And they go on this patrol, but before that, she is writing down questions, which is what a teenager would do when they want to confront someone that's way older than them about something, or maybe not even. How many times have we gone back on that, where before you confront someone about something, you write down every fucking question and you think about every possibility of how this is going to go? And then Joel knocks and she scatters. They go on patrol, and that patrol turns bad. Now, I really like the joke when she says, "Oh my God, look, it's a big squirrel fucking a little squirrel." That's so random and out of pocket, but I love that moment. But you get to Eugene. They go down the hill. They see the dead body go by them, and Eugene's sitting there. Which Joe, how do you say it? Joe Pantoliano. However, I just know him. He's the guy from Bad Boys, right? He's the police, right? That's the same dude, correct?
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Joe.
It is. That's the commissioner.
Yeah, it's the commissioner.
The captain. Or the captain guy. Yeah. I didn't. Yeah. Wow. I knew he looked familiar.
Yeah. I love the pick for Eugene, and You see he's bit. And I really like that idea of that if you're bit, we take you out. That's it. No ifs, ands, or buts. And Joel's the type of dude to go by order. But also, maybe they could have made it back. And it's that question. Because Ellie's like, well, you're not shaking. I think we can make you go back. And he says, I promise. And right then and there, she's like, I've seen this. Okay. And she believes him for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And she leaves. And as Joel's walking him out and he takes him out basically to fucking pasture, mice and men type shit here, man. I swear to God. He just, boom. You see the birds fly up. And Ellie comes up. And she's just tears in her eyes as they're going back. And great parallel to dragging the body behind him, just like Joel. And then the fucking emotion runs. Ellie calls Joel out as Joel straight fucking lies to Gail's face. Straight lie. How the hell can you go to therapy for her? How the hell can he go to therapy? Like, I just, like, you fucking lied to her, dude. And yeah, this moment was tough, but I liked the change. In the game, I guess out of all the flashbacks, that flashback has always been my least favorite. When they're going through the patrol and they go through like a hotel and they find the dead bodies of people that ran off. I've always found that to be like the most boring out of all of them. But I found this to be perfect because it's a mix of the Salt Lake City one, but not going to Salt Lake City and adding something new. Cody, what did you think about this? Give me your thoughts, man.
Yeah, I mean, once again, this is one of those things where if someone says that they like the way they do it in the game better, I'm not offended. If someone says they like the way they do it in the show better, I wouldn't be offended because I think for both mediums, the way they do it is perfect. For me, I do like the way. Look, I'll put it this way: is I like the way they do it in the show. The confession scene in Salt Lake City. I like that version of the truth coming out more, only because of Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson's performances. But how they adapted it to the silver screen, I thought was perfectly executed. From literally this whole part of the episode felt like I felt like I was holding my breath the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because you're waiting for the nail to drop, the shoe to drop. And I love it when audio engineers just take out sound from things, especially if it's things that would normally cause some kind of interruption to the surrounding environment. And when it happened here, I was like, "Oh, this is where the reveal is going to come in. And this is where Ellie's going to walk away from Joel." And it was one of the most heartbreaking things. And it was just Bella Ramsey's performance, particularly here, was great.
Yeah, man. It's fucking perfect. It makes me go, damn, I can never act. Seth, what about you? What do you think, man?
I love that whole like adding in Eugene and all of that because I think it adds levity to like the fact that Joel really is a monster and like deep down Ellie knew that, but like being lied to for a second time, like she knew what happened in Seattle, like deep down she knew, and I think that having Eugene be that catalyst to like further hammer home that he lied to her, I think it just hit that impact is so much better in the show for me personally.
Yeah, I think for me, this is one of those that I like the difference. I like the change. And I think it fits for the show. Her going all the way to Salt Lake City in the game made sense for the game. For a show, it makes no sense. It makes no sense for her to travel all that distance. Because then when you really think about it, it's like, okay, they're going to be silent for fucking weeks till they get back home, you know? So I thought this change was good. I liked where it goes, but it does go to the best moment of the entire episode, in my opinion.
Of the entire show.
The entire show, too. And this was a moment that I didn't think they were going to do until I started watching this episode. And about midway through, I said, fuck, they're going to do the porch scene already. which for context for people who don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, that hasn't happened till way later in the game. And these cutscenes, these flashbacks are throughout the game. And it makes sense to have them all at one point, but I really felt they were going to keep that porch one until back half of the game. So next season. But this is it for Pedro. Like, there's no more in between for them. Like, this is it. And as the porch scene plays out, it's great to see his perspective at the dance, but it really comes down to when Ellie walks past and you see her you see that disappointment in his face.
Mm-hmm.
And then she starts to walk up and they have that stupid talk about coffee, which breaks my heart even more that she put the coffee beans on his grave. But what really broke me on this episode and broke me was the performances. And they take the conversation from the Salt Lake City stuff and combine it with the porch scene from the game. And it's perfect. I'm gonna start fucking crying right now thinking about this sequence. But this moment broke me so hard because she always knew. She always felt it was a lie, and she'd never confronted him after that. And I like how she says, "You had the same look in your eyes. You had the same look on your face." And she goes, "I want you to tell me, swear to me. This is your last chance or we're done." And he's no words, which fucking round of applause for Pedro Pascal on this, because like genuinely the way that he just nods his head up and down and just when he needs to, and she just gets every bit of that. And what he has to say is what's most important, because he doesn't talk a lot when he starts crying, but he starts talking when he feels like he has to defend himself, which for me was the most heartbreaking thing when he says the whole thing of, which is my favorite line from the game, and he says it perfectly, "I had another chance, I would do it all over again."
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "What? Because you're selfish." And that wasn't from the game. The selfish part wasn't from the game. And then he says, "Because I love you." And I'm like, fuck, man. You fucked me up, man. Jesus Christ, man. What? You're gonna do that to me? Oh, no. You can't. You can't fucking say "because I love you." And I looked at my son, and he's sitting there fucking drooling, and I'm like, if you were the cure for something, I'd fucking kill everyone for you. And he didn't understand. He didn't understand anything. Fuck, man. Fuck. Who wants to talk first?
I guess I can.
Go ahead, Cody.
Okay, go ahead, man.
I'll just start out with this. I wish I had the moment that just played out like in the past 5 minutes. I wish I had that on repeat. That was one of the funniest things I've seen in a while. Oh, but I will say, I agree everything was perfect. And I think anyone who has had like a major blowout argument, an argument that is very much like the one that is in the show. Anybody who has had a conversation like this with somebody close to them, whether it's a friend or family member, which I'm pretty sure everybody at one point or another has, this scene hits home because it's just so accurate to how this kind of a situation plays out. And for me, it's just I wasn't able to hold myself together for very long as soon as they started talking. Like, I was sobbing. Everything was great. And I know we've talked a lot in terms of award ceremonies, in particular in regards to like Bella Ramsey and Isabella Merced, in regards to the Emmys. For me, after watching this episode, if he doesn't win, Pedro Pascal should be nominated as Joel at the Emmys this next time around.
I will say I hope he can get nominated as a guest. Well, let me put it this way. I'm happy he won SAG, at least for season 1. But I do agree. However they can nominate him, I really hope it works.
Because this episode, look, I love Bella Ramsey, love what she did here. For me, Pedro Pascal in this episode is the best performance of this entire season so far in this one episode.
Yep, 1000%. Seth, you?
Sorry, I'm reading something there. Sure, you can see that. I honestly, I love the ending. I thought it was great. I also cried a lot because it just
Can I
reminded me.
say can I say one thing real quick, Seth,
Yeah.
before you go?
Yeah, please.
Left Slayer, you are such a fucking little bitch. You're such a fucking little bitch, and I hope you know that. I hope you know that you're the tiniest little bitch in the entire world. And I hope like whatever you're doing right now in your mom's fucking basement, you grow the fuck up. So you know what? Goodbye, good luck, goodbye. You're a piece of shit. And
Bye
I
bye.
hope, yeah, like, dude, you're just a fucking whore. You're just a fucking whore.
What the
So,
hell?
goodbye. You
Bye-bye.
have your own house. That's sad. That's fucking sad that you have your own house. It's fucking
Yeah,
depressing.
that comment distracted me. I was reading that and he was like just saying shit, and I was like, oh, okay.
Absolutely depressing that you have your own house. Absolutely fucking depressing that you have your own house. Abso-fucking-lutely depressing. What a fucking loser. Okay, go on, Seth. I'm sorry.
The house is just photos of Bella Ramsey everywhere.
Probably, man. Jesus
Um,
fucking Christ.
I don't even know. That was great.
Oh my
We were talking about the ending, right?
Yes. Yes.
I love the ending. I thought it was fantastic. And like I said earlier in the episode, I loved how it went full circle from him saying, I think you do a little bit better than me. And then, it just cuts to the next scene in Seattle. And I'm just like, oh, goddamn. But
Well,
I loved it. I love the conversation. I think this played a lot better for the show than it did in the game. But yeah.
yeah. No, I think in the context of the show, it really hits hard. And it really, really works how
It's a great description. Great. Flash out across the screen.
Thank you, Left Slayer, for doing this. If you're trying to log into something else to like, I really hope you see this, but like, thank you for making my day and making me laugh.
Yeah.
God, dude, fucking loser, man. Fucking loser. I have my own house.
It was
Okay.
inevitable. It was inevitable.
Okay, sir. Okay, so does my fucking son. Okay. So does Joel and Ellie. Oh wait, they got the house given to them. Fucking loser.
I love you, Zach.
Sorry. I love you guys too, man. Again, if you, and let me preface, if you don't like this episode, if you don't like the show, I don't care. That's fine. That's totally fine. Like, I know I joke with these guys, like specifically in last week's where like I was mad at them for not liking something. You know what's funny? Like my wife, this episode, and I said best episode of the whole show, and she goes, I thought it was okay. That's fine. She told me her reasoning. She goes, I thought it was a little slow. I would have liked how you told me it broken up through the game. And I was like, that's totally fine. That is totally 1000% fine. But once you start making fun of someone, nah, we're not doing that shit. You're a little bitch if you are. Anyways, this is why I like doing live streams now, because I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Either way, going back, this was the best sequence, best performances across the board. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what both of you said because I'm very distracted by this dude. But
we liked it.
I did, yeah, but I did end up loving this, and I think this is the moment where it leads us into the final few moments. And I was wishing we would have seen what happened, but you see the pain, the terror, and as I mentioned, she's feeling all of this leading up into this moment. And boom, we see her go back into the theater, which I love because from the game, there's a parallel of Abby doing that. So does next week end on that? Of Abby outside the theater? Does it end on the aquarium? We have so many thoughts. We have so many questions. I don't know what direction they're going in now. But now I'm along for the ride. I have the game. I'm just accepting that this is not the game, and I think it just takes a second to kind of hit there. And I love the first season of the show for one reason, and I love the first game for one reason, and I love the second game for some reason, and I overall really like the second season with loving certain episodes. What did you guys think of it the moment that it ended? Did you want it to keep going? Did you yell just like me?
I thought the moment was extremely hard. Like it went hard in the paint because you, like you said, you see that anger, the rain's coming down on her, and Ellie's ready to fuck shit up. And the Ellie that we know from the game that is just gonna go ape shit on everybody, you see it in her face in that moment. And I am not ready for next week or for the show to end and have to wait like another 2 years.
Yeah, 100%. Cody, you?
Yeah, I thought the ending of this episode was perfect. And the one thing I'll say about this episode, which I wish we could have had for the whole of this season, is that this episode being an hour long, like an hour and 2 minutes, something like that, it was a perfect length for the episode. And honestly, it feels, because the last few episodes we've gotten have been maybe 45 minutes. And for me, those episodes have felt too short. This is the first time since I think the second episode of this season where I've been like, this feels like it's the length that it should be.
Yeah. Why the fuck was not every other episode 60 minutes?
Yeah.
They should have been. Where the fuck's
Yeah.
Tommy? That's my complaint.
Okay. Yeah, I was just
One episode.
I was just about to get to that.
I can share my theory with everyone because Seth didn't fucking respond to me this week. Or maybe he did.
Did
Did
I?
you?
I don't remember.
I don't
This-
think you did.
this
I'm
is-
sorry.
This is my whole concern with this, unless it is being shown in more detail next season. Up until this point, nothing of significance, other than maybe the cold open of this Joel's death and the cold open of this episode, nothing of significance has happened with Tommy. Nothing. And for me, we have one episode left. For
Yeah.
me, look, they could have a great explanation for where Tommy has been, but considering what we're getting for previews, it doesn't look like it's going to be a very Tommy focused episode.
I didn't watch the preview, so I
didn't either.
don't know exactly where to say. But let me say this. Okay. Let's get into predictions then. Okay. Spoilers for the game potentially. Just as a heads up. Now, Seth did not respond to my text message this week.
I apologize.
Fucking rude. Rude. But Cody and me talked.
Yeah.
I also talked to a couple of my coworkers about this. This is the only prediction I'm going to give. Okay? And I say each of us just give one prediction. Or you guys can agree with mine.
Okay.
Jesse and Tommy both die in next week's episode. And I say this
Oh.
because I've really been thinking about this. And again, spoilers for the game. Spoilers for the game. At the end of the game, Tommy survived, yada, yada, but he's very fucked up, and he cannot go after Abby anymore. He guilts Ellie into going back after she's been living her life happy. Who would be the best candidate to make Ellie feel guilty? That has been built up as a character and in this community. Maria. That's how they're going to do it. The reason that Tommy and Jesse are there are because of Ellie. If they both die, Jackson loses leader number 1 and leader number 2, basically, because Jesse would be the one that takes over after Tommy. Now, I know there's a lot of... I'm going to get you talk in a second, but that is my prediction. I think they both die next week, and I think Maria's going to guilt Ellie into that. Not in the way of being like, oh, why don't you go and kill her? Like, this is where she's at. No, more being, you're a bitch. Like, you ruined my life. You ruined my son's life. You ruined so much of this community because you had to go out for revenge. Who would like to take it away?
I just want to add to that real quick. Sorry, Cody.
Okay.
I actually agree with that statement because one, it would also make Ellie like way more angry than she already is. And like, I would not want to be on the other side of that anger, seeing not both Joel and Tommy die in front of her. That would be gnarly. And I think that would be the catalyst to really send her off the rails. And I think that would be kind of cool, honestly.
Yeah. 1000%. Cody? You've known about this theory since like Tuesday or Wednesday when I talked to you about
Yeah.
it. So,
And I agree. And the reason why I say I agree is because at this point, at this stage in the game, if they don't do that with Tommy,
What's the point?
it's like, I don't know what to think. Because if
they have to do something with Tommy.
If-
They have to do something with Tommy. And again, if they do this, like, honestly, I'll be fine. I'll be fine with what they've done with Tommy then. It's different than the game. In realism world, Tommy would not be able to murder that many people. He just wouldn't. He just wouldn't.
Well, that's true, but in realism world, Joel wouldn't have been able to do what he did inside
In the hospital, yeah. There be monsters here.
I mean, I think Joel could have.
But here is my other thing. With the way things are going right now, I don't know if this is going to be planned because it has not been confirmed yet. But with how the season is going, I don't know how they plan to tell the rest of the story without adding another season after season 3.
That's what I was saying earlier. Not in this episode,
Like
but
that is my big prediction for the show as a whole, is that we will get a season 4 at some point. But for predictions as far as things go, as far as things go for this episode, for the rest of the show, for the rest of the season, Jesse's gonna go either way. Jesse is a goner. Like, there's a foregone conclusion. Because here's the thing: when it comes to adapting this into a show, neither Neil or Craig have talked about making Jesse any differently than he was in the game, and they've talked about changes to other significant characters.
I mean, he's the same character, almost like bit for bit.
Now, there's that. Moving forward, I don't think I have it. I think that's the best prediction for this is yours, Zach. I'm curious what they're gonna do with Dina in this last episode.
Well, Abby's gonna have to have her in a chokehold. No, I'm kidding. I don't think they can do that.
Oh my god!
That she puts her in a chokehold, the knife next to her throat.
Yeah, she does, because Dina tries to stab. Oh
yeah.
She also smashes Dina's face in.
Yeah.
Anyways, anything else you guys want to leave for the predictions, or are you guys ready to get into the live?
Well, I don't have a prediction, but I do have another question. What's the point of Eugene's wife, Kevin McAllister's mom? Like, I feel like they were hinting at so much more there, and like, I don't like, what are we doing with her? I'm confused.
I think the end tale for her will be in the next season once they're back.
Okay, cool.
I think overall there's good stuff there. I'm still not 100% sold on it. But I think let's give it till now. I'm more waiting till let's see when Ellie comes back. Yeah. Let's see what happens when Ellie gets back to Jackson.
I think I do have a thought on that, because my thought process is there, because if I do believe she's going to have more character development, but if her sole character is just here to be somebody who's there as a foil for Joel and Eugene and all that, basically a female character who's just there to serve the purposes of the male characters in the story, if that's all she is here for, I'm going to be very upset.
Same, because she's a great actress too.
I will say, though, what you just said, though, people can say the same thing. If Tommy dies, are they just doing her in service for Maria and Ellie? So,
but I think it serves a purpose more so, though, because it, like, everyone's been complaining, like, Ellie isn't angry, Ellie isn't this, and if you have her, like, two father figures just brutally killed in front of her, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, 100%. So, I guess we'll see. I'm gonna give till season 3 to see what they're doing with Catherine O'Hara, because if not, I'm gonna be like, why couldn't he have just talked to Tommy about like any of this? Anyways, guys, let's get to the live questions. Crazy Description asks, Zach, how do you feel about them combining the Salt Lake confession scene and the porch scene into one? I've already mentioned this. I loved it. I thought it was actually better. You guys?
I loved it.
Perfect.
Loved it.
Cody? Evil One asks, do you think the last episode will be the aquarium or stay in a surrounding area? It has to be the aquarium if they're keeping to that. I can't imagine they
Okay.
don't do the aquarium scene, but what about you guys?
I do have some insights with this because neither of you said that you watched the preview for the next episode, right?
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
No, so
Okay.
are they?
There is a shot of the Ferris wheel in front of the aquarium.
Oh,
Oh, perfect.
fuck yeah.
Ooh, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I love that. I love that. Good to
Yay.
know. At least one of us did.
Yep.
I was almost about to watch it, and I was like,
Oh, by the way, there's also in the preview. There's also a shot of Jesse and Ellie running back towards the opening of the theater from
Jesse
inside.
and Ellie.
Yeah, Jesse and Ellie, like running from the bottom level of the theater back to where they up right before.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No. No. Dude, I'm gonna be like fucking Matthew McConaughey next week from Interstellar. No. No. Left Slayer, fuck you again. Love you guys. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much. All right. All right. Crazy descriptions prediction. The season will definitely end at the theater with Abby, the scene where you see Ellie and Jesse running. If you know, you know. All right. Just exactly as he said.
Yep.
Brian Holiday sends in a super chat. Thank you so much. Should the Fireflies have explained what was going to happen when Joel and Ellie got to the hospital? I think a lot of this could have been avoided. You're not wrong at all.
No.
Not wrong one bit. But here's the deal. Joel would have never gone to the hospital if he knew that. If he knew that from day one, he would have never gone.
Do you think Ellie still would have wanted to go through with it?
Yes. Yes. So but in the context, the Fireflies don't know if she would be. You know what I mean? She's a kid. So I don't think so. Cody, you got anything to add to that?
The thing is, I think Ellie's confession to Joel about the fact that he rescued her pretty much sums up the fact that even if this thing was going to happen, if she knew that she was going to have to die, she would have gone through with it. Because number one, the first person she fell in love with and her best friend, she watched get murdered right in front of her. It's essentially her whole life has been misery. This is the one thing where she felt like her life could actually matter.
1000%.
Yep.
The last resident says Gale's a representation of the consequences of Joel's actions. I actually kind of like that. I like that interpretation.
I do too.
But I still need to see at least one more thing with Ellie and her. I like this question, and I hope it happens. Do you think we could get an entire Tommy-centric episode in season 3 for a bottle episode? You know, I'm not going to lie. I wish we had one more bottle episode. I really like them. I think this is a bottle episode, and this was great. I think a Tommy-centric one in Seattle about his day, you could play it through. What were those 3 months of him grieving Joel and then jump into that Seattle stuff? I love it.
Reaper. I would love that.
Yeah. What about you guys love that both?
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. My only thing is that if we do get it, it would make me sad because then I'd be like, oh, we didn't get that for the game. Now I'm sad that we didn't get that for the game.
Yeah. But that's why you get stuff from the show and you get stuff from the game. It's stuff usually that Neil couldn't add to the game.
Yeah.
Thomas Baker, which performance did you like in this episode? All of them. Every
Yeah.
single one.
Literally
Every single one, including Shimmers. Michael Entity, I'm very mixed and conflicted. I don't know if I like the way Joel told the truth in the video game more or in the show. I thought both were executed perfectly with Pedro Pascal's performance. In terms of a game, it makes sense of how Joel's vocally sang. Mm-hmm. In terms of the show, it makes more sense that Pedro's nodding and stuff, because in a game you can't emote that much in terms of nodding. Maybe now you can with like all the graphical stuff, but back then, even in 2020, they wouldn't be able to do that. Anything you guys want to add to that?
I think the one thing I would add is also the characters, and this is when people are like fans of different mediums, this is one thing they get mixed on. The character in Joel that we have in the show is not Joel from the video game. They are 2 different versions of Joel. Like the version of Joel that we have in the version of Joel that we have in the video game, if you take out the abusive nature that his father has in the show, that's basically Joel from the game. Just I
almost want to say though that is the same. I think that's Joel's background in the game. It's just never been said or seen.
Yeah, and I mean that's my point. Is that Pedro Pascal's version of Joel is someone who's more able to be emotionally open when the time calls for it. Joel in the game is almost never emotionally open.
Dude,
Not
he's the
even
best. He's everyone's best bud in the game. He
he's
never hurts
everybody's
anyone.
dad, which is why everybody got upset when he died.
Yeah. We got one last question, guys. Sergio asks, I love Yara and Lev. Do you think they'll have a bottle episode in season 3? That would be actually the one to do to
Yeah.
give us more context on the cult. If we were to get one, I would be pretty shocked if it's not them. And I'm going to predict this right now. The same actor that played Lev in the game will play Lev in the show.
I agree.
Anything else for you guys to add to that?
I'm ready.
I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with season 3. I will say, my biggest hope is that with this last episode, if we don't get a lot of Tommy, I think we'll get some things, but not as much as we'd hoped. With season 3, definitely gonna be primarily focusing on Abby. I hope we get more Tommy stuff in season 3.
I'll tell you right now, I've given up on getting anything from Tommy. I'd rather them just plug him in the fucking next episode and let me move on with my life. I'm over it. I'm done. I'm done giving a fuck. This Tommy's a pussy. Anyways, that is our episode review. Thank you so much again, guys, for tuning in. Thank you so much for the one super chat we got, and I appreciate you guys. If you're watching this on the replay, hit that like, subscribe button. Subscribe, follow Seth and Cody, both on Instagram. TikTok primarily for Seth, YouTube for Seth. Cody mostly Instagram to catch up on his projects. Anything else I missed from you two? Just want to make sure.
You gave us the perfect outro.
You did?
Yeah. But next week is the finale. We'll be back. So anyways, I got a crying baby in the background, so it's time to end this. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll play you guys out.